to BT Tuesday morning. An honor to have a six-time Stanley Cup champion, former president of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and author of a great new book. It is called Game Change. Ken Dryden, you know him, you love him. And first off, welcome and congratulations on this piece right here.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
An important piece. You see the life and death of Steve Montador and the future of hockey. Why was the late Steve Montador such a catalyst and a game changer for this sport?
Well, I think his story is. I mean, it's the story of a life, first of all. I mean, that hockey is part of his life. And the only way you can really understand the impact of concussions and why they matter is to see what they do to a life. And so, you follow Steve as you would in a biography, from being born here in Richmond and growing up most of his time in Mississauga and playing junior hockey, and then at certain points having some injuries. And then what does it feel like to have a concussion? You know, that the player goes off the ice, we don't see him for a week or two, we read about how he's rehabbing, he may be back, he may not be back. What is it like in those couple of weeks? What about in those couple of months? What are the symptoms? And then when the symptoms become serious, what is it like when you're 31, 32 years old, 33, when you have memory problems, when you have problems of anxiety, when you have problems of depression, when you can't kind of piece things together the way you always used to be able to? We're kind of used to seeing that in people who are 82, 85. This is 50 years earlier. What is life like under those circumstances? That's the stakes in this. So that's the central part of this story. Then you go into the science, then you go into the way a game is played, then you go into decision making. But at the core of it is, this is a person. And what is it like, experiencing these injuries?
And gone too soon, Steve Montador passing away at the age of 35. That's and right. The exploration that happens in this book, some may think, oh, it's another hockey book by Ken Dryden, but so much more as you deal with outrage, hope, and then the exploration of how we make the game of hockey and professional sports safer. What is the clear answer?
Well, the answer is where the problem begins. It's hits to the head. We've known since the early 20s through boxers that hits to the head are not a good thing. We just never kind of assumed that somehow a hit to the head from football or hockey is essentially the same thing. It's still a hit to the head. And we make all of these distinctions about where, well, did the player have his head down a little, a lot? Should he have seen it? Did the hitter, did he do it intentionally? Was he targeting the head? Was he, the brain doesn't distinguish. The brain doesn't care whether you were trying to do it or not, whether it was your shoulder, your fist, your elbow, or anything. The brain is the brain. And brain injuries are lousy things to live with. And there are absolute answers in terms of hockey with this. And you just simply say, no hits to the head, no excuses. None of these explanations of why and all the rest. No. Just as when a player puts their stick up and it hits somebody in the face, automatic penalty. If they're cut, automatic 4-minute penalty. No arguments, no disputes. Players adapt, teams adapt, the game goes on, you find a way. Well, you do the same thing in terms of hits to the head.
It's such an important message, and for any player out there, maybe a coach, a parent, there's terrific insight and a jumpstart for an important conversation for safety of headshots. You're continuing this conversation for the Writers' Festival tonight, a live Q&A, so fans can not only hear about the book, but get deeper into this, yeah?
Absolutely.
All right, there you see details on stage, writersfest.bc.ca. You can get all the details there. Ken, an absolute pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
And this book available today, correct?
That's right.
All right, great souvenir to pick up. We can learn through his eyes and his words. We'll take a break.